All right, so it is now 4 o'clock Mountain Time, and we will go ahead and get started. So today's session is on using that data tracker to support your instruction. While we go ahead through this webinar, if you would like to have your own Formative account up and running on either a separate screen or an additional tab, you are welcome to log in and follow along. Just go ahead to formative.com, hit that login button, and you can log in with Google, Clever, Microsoft, or your email username and password, whatever method you use to log into your account. So a little bit about me. My name is Katie. I am a client success manager here at Formative. I am a former teacher. I have taught pre-K collaborative, kindergarten, special ed, and RTI. So I did a lot with different data. I am a dog mom. I have 4 rescues. If you hear them barking, I apologize. They should behave, but I make no promises. I was born and raised in the New England area, but I've lived all over, including New York, Florida, Texas, California, and I am now in Colorado. Some things to know as we get started today. This session is being recorded. We are scheduled for roughly 30 minutes. If you have any questions, please go ahead and just pop those into the chat and we will get those answered for you. So our learning objectives today, we're going to look at tagging our questions to standards, sorting our data within the tracker, using that data to drive our instruction, and then exporting your data. All right, so we'll go ahead and we will dive right in. I'm going to pop over to my Formative. So going straight over to my dashboard. Now we know that with our formatives, we can tag them all to standards. This makes life so much easier when you go to view that tracker. But how do you tag it to a standard? So I'm going to pull up just one of my formatives over here. Now, this one, I've got a little image here. I can add in my questions. If I want to add in maybe a multiple choice question, I would type in my question, type in my answer choices. Then down here at the bottom part of your question, you see tag to standards. So if I click right into that, I'll see I have some standard sets already added into my account. If you don't have anything added in there, don't worry, that's okay. What you will need to do first is hit this plus add new standard set button. Now we pull our standards from the Common Standard Project, so all different state standards are in there. Or if your school happens to use customized standards, you can add them to common standards and they'll get pulled over to Formative. But you would search. So if I wanted to search for, let's say, Colorado, and then brings me up to some more different options for choosing a subject. So maybe this one, we'll click over here. Grades 9, 10, 12. Double check, make sure those are the ones I want. Okay, great. Confirm and exit. And then when I go in to tag my standards, I can find that standard that I would like and add it in. It's pretty simple. And that'll pop up at every single question type that you add in. So another thing I would like to show you all about maybe specifying what your formative is for a little bit more that'll help when we go into that data tracker is up here in the corner, you see these 3 little dots, gives you more options. So if I click that and go to set formative type, I can designate this formative as something specific. So maybe this is classwork and I want to pull in making sure that classwork is in my tracker. I can tag this as classwork. If I want it to be homework, I can tag it as homework, interventions, independent practice. Anything that I want that formative to be labeled on, can be labeled. This will help when you go into your tracker to sort out your formatives and kind of get a better feel of, okay, if I just want to look at all my homework assignments, I can look at all my homework assignments. If I want to look at assessments, I can look at assessments. So it'll better help you manage your formatives and your tracker. So now we'll go ahead and we'll look at some actual data. Back on your dashboard, up at the top, you've got your formatives, you've got your classes. We're going to look at this fun tab, the tracker tab. Now, keep in mind, my account is filled with fake students and fake data, so I'm going to adjust my date range. It automatically sets to last 14 days, but if you haven't had anyone take any formatives within then, it's going to show up with no data. All right. So now I can see all my different information, all my student information. And I can also see, so obviously, Aaron is not me. I am listed as a co-teacher on one of his classes. So that means I am able to see all of his data as well. So any class that you are a co-teacher with, you will be able to see that data. I can view it as a formative. So if you look at the top, these are all the different individual formatives. I can sort that by specific class. I can sort my students. I can sort by type of formative. Got my date range. This is where that type of formative would come into play if I want to look for a specific type. So maybe I want to look for some classwork, and I'll see what's coming up as just classwork. I can sort by grade if I teach multiple grades, or by subject. Now, first glance at this, again, mine looks a little different because all my information is filled with fake students and fake data, but you can see right away, all right? If I'm looking right here, this formative for Aaron's class, American History, we've got 0. Clearly tells me that I need to go back and reteach that or do something there. Up at the very top, that's right underneath, is the overall. That 83 is the overall. Each individual bubble shows next to those students. If I click into one of those bubbles, it'll pull up that formative in the side. This will allow me to kind of see at a glance where my students were on it. What did they miss? What did they get? That way, I don't have to go back into my dashboard or open a new tab and look up that formative specifically. It's all right here for me. Now, if we think about our standards, and maybe I don't want to view each individual formative, I want to view it by standard. Up here at the top, I switch over to standards view. So these will show me the standards that have been tagged. So you can see, again, quickly at a glance, all right, this geometry standard, we're not doing so well with. That tells me that that is something that I would need to go back and reteach. Really gives me quick access to a lot of information. And again, too, click into it and you can view that formative right there, view those answers. Now, a new feature that we've just added in is up here at the top where it says formatives. Right now, you can see all of those formatives that are tagged to standards, but maybe I want to look at a specific formative. So if I click into that and I type in the name of that formative that I want to look at, view those responses. Those are all those standards that are specifically tagged to that formative. And I can see those students who've answered it, as well as their responses and their overall scores. So that really helps you as a teacher narrow down specifically where your students are struggling. So when thinking about viewing all of this data, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming. you look at something like this and you see all this information, again, can be really overwhelming. But what this can do for you as a teacher, or if you are a co-teacher on someone's class, thinking about some of our special education teachers that may be added as co-teachers, gives you an easy way to pinpoint exactly where your students are missing something. When you look at the overall tracker, you can see by standard. All right, need to go back and reteach the standard. If I'm looking at it by formative, I can see, okay, well, this formative, we missed something, need to redo this individual formative. If I go back over to my normal dashboard, and I'm going to pull up one of my formatives that has some results. If I go to that view responses page on that individual formative, and I view all of those answers at once instead of each individual one, I can see by question type where I'm needing to really go back and either reteach or maybe change my question type. Maybe all of my students are struggling for some reason with the short answer questions. But if I ask the same type of question in a multiple choice, they're getting it. That tells me that I need to adjust the way I'm asking those questions, not the content of that question. So you have a lot of flexibility with what you want to see and how you can use that information. Now, for those of you who are in one of our partner schools or have some type of partner membership, either department, school, or district-wide, your admin does have access to viewing all of your data. For those of you who are just using Formative on your own or a premium membership, your admin does not get to see this. So if they're asking you questions like, hey, what do you mean it's on Formative? Like, I don't see that, like, I don't know where it is. Or you happen to have an admin who just really likes that paper data, or you like that paper data. You want to bring it to a PLC meeting, just a hard copy so you can write on everything. You can export this information out. So if I want to export all of this out, I leave it as is. Up in that top right-hand corner, I hit that export button. And I can either export it to a CSV spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. Again, totally your preference, whichever one you would prefer. Let me go ahead and click on that so you can kind of see what it looks like. Now, it doesn't come with all the pretty bubbles and the colors, but again, you can see right away, all right, that's the class, that's the student. Overall, here's your formative up at the top. Those are those scores. So again, all of that information now right there in a spreadsheet for you to share with whoever needs to share with it, print it out, write on it, make your comments, whatever you need to do. If you want only specific information to be exported out. So maybe I am looking for a certain class. I just want to see this one class. I can hit export again, and it'll show me just that one class that I have on my tracker at that moment. So that's really helpful if you're thinking like, I don't, maybe I'm only talking about ELA today. So I don't want to come prepared with everything because we're only focused on ELA. So I only want to pull this class, or I only want to pull this subject. Again, that's sorting that tracker and export it out. For those who are wondering about this co-teacher feature I keep mentioning, if you go over to your classes tab, you can add a co-teacher to any of your classes here. So you'll see American history, the owner is Aaron, but it's showing up under me because he's added me as a co-teacher. Same with this one, Formative Data 101, the owner is Sarah, I'm added as a co-teacher. So if I think about over here, I can click on that square next to my class. That box pops up at the bottom. I hit the co-teacher and I can add them in. Now this is a partner feature, so you do have to be part of our Formative partnership for it. And when you go to add co-teachers, please make sure you're using their email address that is associated with their partnership account. If they have like both a account with their school email address and then a separate one with their personal, make sure you use the correct email address. So just a reminder as well, if you are ever working in Formative and you're stuck on something and you're not sure how to do something, this little question mark button up here in the top, if you click on that, you can go visit our help center. So our help center is where you can search for all sorts of different articles, whatever you're struggling with. So if I wanted to look something up on the tracker, I can type that in and see all the different help articles on that. If whatever you're trying to find isn't already in a help article, if you click on this little chat bubble down at the bottom, you'd be able to chat with a member of our team. They are generally in the chat from roughly 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And they are fantastic about getting back to everyone with their questions. Back over at this little question mark, we also have our training center. This is where, again, you'll find our formative webinars, our community center. So our Formative Certified Educator program has recently been revamped and it is fantastic. So if you are interested in becoming a Formative Certified Educator, you can check that out. Different formative courses for you to follow along with, or if you're sharing formative with some of your colleagues and they're not quite sure what it is, you can direct them this way and it'll kind of be a slower walkthrough. Any type of events and conferences that we're participating in. And then, of course, all of our webinars. So these are the remaining ones for March. April should be getting posted relatively soon. And then all of our previous webinars. We also always have that option for feature requests. So if there is something that we don't have quite yet and you think it would be amazing if Formative did have, you can go ahead over to that feature request and add in whatever you think we should add. You can view what's already been requested and what we're working on as well. All right, so with that said, I will give you all about 10 minutes back to your day. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your day.